My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, Lunar, and welcome to a not-so-smashing video. And I say not-so-smashing because it's no hyperbole. My disappointment is indeed truly immeasurable. But if you don't know exactly what I'm talking about, any of you who weren't already aware by now, so Nintendo just dropped a direct unexpectedly out of the blue where they announced a brand new Star Fox game. And initially, I was actually pretty excited for it because we haven't had a Star Fox game in well over a decade. But then as the trailer went on and they showed us more and more, I was literally just left with this feeling of confusion and conflictions. Or in other words, my reaction basically went, seriously? Well over a decade since Star Fox Zero, a game that I haven't actually played for myself? And this is literally the best they could come up with? Like, I'm sure you already know by now, but there's a damn good reason why this game is being memed on to hell and back. From being called Star Fox 64, 4, 5, or however the hell many games they've released. Can't wait to play Star Fox 64 for the 1500th time. Star Fox becoming Nintendo's Skyrim. Or, to put it in fancier terms, a remake of a reimagining of a classic game on Super Nintendo. That's literally the best way that a lot of people describe it. And yeah, it's true. 100%. And I know the game isn't even released yet, but I just have to say, man, I am very fearful for the future of this franchise, just knowing this game exists now. Of course, I do just want to say that I haven't really invested all of my time into every Star Fox game under the sun. I've only really played a handful of games, such as the Super Nintendo games, Star Fox 64, and the 3DS version, as well as Star Fox Assault, one of my favorite games of all time. Fuck yeah. Don't care what anybody says. Still awesome all these years later. Star Fox Command, which I admittedly haven't touched since I first played it. Didn't like the controls, so I just sort of forgot about it. But fast forward from 2016 with Star Fox Zero, we now have Star Fox, which, just for the record, all throughout this video, I'm probably going to refer to this as Star Fox Switch 2, just to avoid confusion with another game called Star Fox, which originally released on the Super Nintendo. Okay? Okay. So, yeah. I just really don't know what to say. Like, if this game is anything to go by, I think Nintendo is starting to show how creatively bankrupt they're becoming now. But before I get into the bad precedent that this could set up later, I do want to discuss the game itself based on my first impressions. First of all, it does actually look very nice. The environment's very beautiful looking. Like, even though this does actually scream Unreal Engine, like those kinds of games that have these hyper-realistic graphics where you need a super powerful CPU and GPU for, the kind of games that rarely ever break the mold. I'm looking at you, Escape from Ever After, with your super cartoony art style. I just really feel like even games that I play, they tend to blend in quite a bit. And I know that this engine has been used to make a lot of really great games, but I feel like nowadays, like Unity, it's becoming a bit oversaturated in the market. And honestly, I do find that a little bit disappointing. And also confusing to see some companies resort to Unreal Engine for a lot of their games, especially after they've been using their own in-house game engines. Well, okay, not all companies, but some of them. I mean, to be fair, it kind of makes sense, but at the same time, it's like, really? You already have an engine that you could probably optimize for newer consoles, so why not just take some time to keep yourselves familiarized with what you already have? But back on track here, speaking of familiarity, The fact that Nintendo is going to be sticking with something familiar is extremely disheartening to me. Because I know that this franchise can actually do a whole lot more than what they were capable of with the Nintendo 64. Like, I was really hoping that this wouldn't just be a reimagining of the entire series, but also something new, something inspired by Star Fox Assault, where you not only have flight missions, but also on-foot missions. Hell, this game literally could have been heavily derivative of Mass Effect, and over the shoulder third-person shooter for the on-foot segments even. Like, I'm not saying that the game should have a heavy focus on foot segments like Star Fox Assault, but, you know, even as an arcade-centric series, I would like to see, you know, some variety. A little bit of creativity wouldn't hurt. But no, that's pretty much exactly what Nintendo was doing. Although I guess to be perfectly fair, I guess Star Fox's appearance in the Mario Galaxy movie makes a whole lot of sense now. It was secretly advertising for a new game that was, again, announced literally out of the blue. And while I am happy for that, because now Nintendo at least shows they still know Star Fox exists, this game genuinely does actually rub me the wrong way, and in the worst ways imaginable. Because on top of being a remake of Star Fox 64, which we already got a remake of on the 3DS, I do strongly believe that if this game actually does succeed, and I'm not saying this because I want the game to fail, I do imagine it might actually do fairly well considering the audience, how much they've been demanding a new Star Fox game. But at the same time, though, like I said, if this actually does very well, then I do fear it could set an extremely bad precedent for the Star Fox series as a whole. Because it ultimately shows that Nintendo simply wants to stick to familiarity rather than branch out and do something creative for a change. I mean, even Star Fox Zero, a game that, again, I haven't actually sat down and played, at least that actually tried to do something creative, and at least tried to be a little different. Which, speaking of, I might actually think about buying I might actually think about getting Star Fox Zero on the Wii U, you know, just to actually try it out for myself and see how it actually is. Even though I have heard of its infamous reputation, I'll gladly reserve my judgment for when I sit down and play for myself. But back on topic here, I really think Star Fox Switch 2 is definitely a game that didn't really need to exist the way it does. Like, did we really need another retreading of Star Fox 64 or the classic Star Fox on Super Nintendo? Like, couldn't we have at least gotten something akin to Star Fox Assault mixed with Mass Effect? Like, it doesn't have to be an RPG, as cool as that would actually be. But it could be something kind of like... But if it could be something where you have, like, multiple different weapons to use and all that jazz, I think that would be the most insanely cool thing imaginable. And moreover, I really think Star Fox could actually benefit if it was in the style of Mass Effect, because literally, you have a franchise that's all about animals in space, so why wouldn't you branch off and do all kinds of really cool things with it? So, without having to beat everybody over the head about all this shit, I was immeasurably disappointed with this announcement. Though, admittedly, at this point, saying that I'm disappointed is, honest to God, not even cutting it at this point. Like, seriously. Well over a decade, and this is the best they could come up with. And if this game is confirmation that the Ocarina of Time remake will actually come into fruition, then, at this point, count me the hell out, man. I don't want remakes of classic games that I've already played back in the day. I want something new. I want something different. Something that actually feels like one I love, but also new at the same time. I mean, look at Zelda, for example. They literally branched away from the classic formula, and that's how Breath of the Wild came to be. Of course, not everybody liked that direction. I know there are people that would rather play the other Zelda games, the older Zelda games, but as an evolution of the series, it makes a lot of sense. And it was a very bold risk that admittedly and shockingly paid off very well for Nintendo. And then Mario Brothers Wonder, a game I actually have sat down and played, it was actually a fun and creative game. No timers, no being forced to move forward at all times. It had a lot of really creative gimmicks that I liked, even though it was just a 2D Mario game. But it was a breath of fresh air. It felt familiar, but it also felt new at the same time. You know what I mean? Star Fox Switch 2, however, this game will actually prove just how creatively bankrupt Nintendo is becoming if they continue down this path. And again, if this is confirmation that the OOT remake will become a reality, I'm not going to be fucking happy about that. And I will have absolutely no interest in playing that because, again, I already played these games before. Why would I need to buy them again, but with a fresh new coat of paint? Like, if you're going to remake a game, have some quality of life improvements, or at least try to make it as different from the original as possible. Well, okay, not drastically different, if you know what I mean, but at least just different enough to a point where it feels both familiar and new at the same time. Oh, and a couple things that I do want to add before I end this video. There are some changes to this game that I'm not actually a fan of, namely the dialogue. Like, it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't sound right, you know what I mean? Like, the characters, they just sound so nonchalant much of the time. Like Slippy Toad, when he's actually in danger of getting tailed by an enemy, he's literally just like, "Oh, cover me while I do my thing." That just felt so freaking out of character for Slippy. Like, I know he's clumsy and all. That's not a secret, but he at least knew when danger was about. And just to prove my point,
Slippy, stay in formation.
Slippy, get back here!
Cover me while I fine-tune my sensors. Oh, you got him? Thanks, Fox.
Whoa! Help me! Thanks, Fox. I thought they had me.
and another example with Falco as you enter Corneria City.
Andros sure has trashed the place.
Yeah, like that's any better than...
This is horrible.
So yeah, what a bummer, man. I wanted to be excited for this game, but I guess some things are just too good to be true. But what do you guys think? Do you think this game will be good? Are you going to play this for yourself? And most importantly, what do you think about the hyper-realistic graphics? But seriously though, folks, feel free to tell me your thoughts about the game in the comments below. And feel free to either agree or disagree with me on anything you like. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, I bid you all adieu, farewell, have yourselves a lovely day, and until next time, this is Lunar signing out. See you later, everybody. Thanks for watching.